Hi, on today's episode,
special guest Kipp Bodnar.
McDonald's. Hashtag MCD stories backfires for McDonald's.
Too many ads is bad, unless you're Google.
Google's new privacy policy.
Facebook timeline coming to business pages.
Ooh, that's exciting. All coming to you on today's episode. Stay tuned for more.
That ooh was hilarious.
Hi, welcome to the Marketing Update. It's January 27th, 2012, and we're coming to you live from Cambridge, Massachusetts. You can always tell when Dan Dunn's in the audience. When Dan Dunn's here, we have a real cheer. I'm Karen Rubin.
I'm Mike Volpe. We have a special guest this week.
Our very own
This is
Kipp Bodnar. This is Kipp's last name.
Everyone just knows Kipp, though.
That's right.
Yes, Kipp is fabulous.
Karen,
Those of you watching, Marketing Up, MKTG Up is the hashtag. Make sure to check out ads from subversive competitors on those hashtags. On the show today, you talked about that. All the old episodes are in iTunes. We prefer 5-star reviews. They're the best kind. Anyone's welcome to come by. We have some new folks in the audience this week as well. And we do a question of the week. So for those of you watching the live show, MKTG Up is the hashtag. The question of the week is, what's a common business blogging mistake you've seen, and how can you fix it?
Right.
And we have some commentary from you folks who answered the question over the past couple days in a video that we'll mix in later. But feel free to tweet now as well with your advice on that issue. Yeah.
So, sounds good. Kipp,
That's
thanks
awesome.
for coming to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm sorry I didn't bake you cookies.
I know, that's what we said. You write a book and you make us cookies, you get on the show. But you did the first.
We're going
I
to take
did
an
the first.
IOU for the cookies, though.
Okay,
It's true,
cookies
we
next
will.
week.
Yes.
I actually think it's fabulous.
All right, I can make that happen.
Kipp is the co-author of a brand new book, the B2B social media book. Kipp's also a member of the HubSpot marketing team, so he's very special and near and dear to our own hearts, right?
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
good.
Why are you even
Make sure he agrees.
Why are you even checking?
But
I just like the become a marketing superstar on
part of the book?
Yeah.
That's your favorite part?
No, I just think it's cool.
First of all, is Mike mentioned in the book?
Mike is mentioned in the
Am
book.
I?
Yeah.
Suck it up to the boss. I see how it goes.
That's suspect. I'm
Look at him.
sorry.
He's got to look for himself. I can't
No,
believe
now
it, Kipp.
I'm looking for you.
So, Nikki, first tell us how did the book come about?
So basically, there have been a ton of books written on social media and inbound marketing and a lot of inbound marketing tactics, right? But they've all been kind of B2C focused. They've all had examples from big brands and been really about reaching consumers. And so we wanted to write a book that was really tailored for companies who were trying to sell to other companies because it was just kind of underserved in the market.
Absolutely. And the first chapter of the book is actually why B2B is better at social media than B2C.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
tell us, why is B2B actually better? Because I think a lot of people don't believe that.
A lot of people don't believe it, and I think it's true because of a few reasons. One, B2B is a relationship-based sale, and social media is a relationship-based communications platform, so totally makes sense. Another thing is B2B marketers have kind of been doing social media unknowingly for a long time. They've been publishers, they've been creating a lot of content well before the internet even existed, right? A lot of B2B companies had their own quarterly magazines. They had that clear thought process in mind. And so it's not as big of a leap for them as it is for B2C folks who are more focused on traditional ad buys and that type of thing. And then kind of a third thing is B2C or B2B folks really have a clear idea of who they're trying to reach. They know who their customer is. They have really good personas. And so that just carries over online. And with all the data and everything available online, you can target people a lot better. So it's a lot better fit.
Yep.
That's my...
You're just done?
I was listening to his answer. It's a good answer.
I know that.
I think we do we're B2B at HubSpot. I think we do a good job of B2B social marketing.
So
It's great.
if B2B is so much better at social media than B2C,
Yep.
why don't people do it? Why do they have a hard time? What's holding them back?
Well, so there's a lot of myths out there. One myth is that it's not for B2B marketers, right? B2B companies, a lot of them are also very risk averse, right? You've got financial services companies, insurance companies, manufacturers who have basically built their business on being risk averse. And so trying new things in their marketing instead of just kind of rubber stamping a marketing budget every year is a really difficult thing for them to do.
Change is hard.
Change is hard.
I was talking to a company earlier this morning. who sells consulting services to IT, managers, directors, CIO types, and they were saying they're like, yeah, we think most of the executives or companies really just don't think that they're reading blogs or using social media. I was like, really, the IT guys aren't using the internet for stuff. Like, okay, that's interesting. Interesting point
I
of
think
view.
you can always convince yourself of that.
Right, and I think that you convince yourself of that, especially when you're risk averse and scared, and you have all of those factors happening.
Yep.
So you also talk about, so we talk a lot about reach because we focus
Totally.
sometimes on reach here at HubSpot.
Totally.
And you talk a lot about reach and that how more is always better.
Yes.
And you hear sometimes people have this contrarian view that's like, oh no, if I only have 500 followers, but they're the right people, that's really what I need to focus on.
Right.
So, but you're kind of a more is better kind of guy.
Well,
Talk about that.
When it comes to reach, I think it's really important because traditionally, B2B companies, marketing was really linear, right? You had a 10,000 person list, you sent them a direct mail piece, you knew how many people responded. But now, if you share something online, even if that person isn't going to buy, you don't know who they're connected to and who they may refer back to your business. And so it's important to have people influenced by your marketing that will never buy your product because they will influence others to buy and will refer other people. And so that's why having reach and having more reach online is really, really important in B2B, and that narrow targeting actually shoots you in the foot. I mean, especially it has lots of other applications for search and lots of other things. But
so having people following my company on Twitter that are not potential customers of me is actually a good thing.
Great thing, absolutely.
I agree.
They might know lots of other people.
I agree.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify for the audience. I agree completely.
So, brand new book for marketers, B2B marketers. What's the number one thing you want people to take away from the book?
I think that social media has many facets, right? It can be used for customer service, public relations, HR, lots of things. It can be used for marketing, and you can generate leads with social media. That's the takeaway.
Absolutely can. We do that.
We do that.
We do that.
All right, so headlines. The first one is a headline called hashtag NCD Stories Backfires for McDonald's. And I feel like we told the story last week or the week before, right?
I feel like the story is always on HubSpot
This
TV.
week we talked about the story, but there's a twist to the story.
It was a different company.
It was Walgreens.
Walgreens,
Thank
right.
you. Walgreens.
Audience.
It's like I love Walgreens or reason whatever,
Nice.
and it backfired on that one. And we talked about it, but what's different here is kind of the way they handled it. So last week, McDonald's kicked off kind of two hashtags on one day. They were doing a big social media push that day. They had hashtag Meet the Farmers, which was about meeting the farmers and their good produce food and blah, blah, blah. And then they launched one, hashtag NCD Stories. And the hashtag Meet the Farmers did all right, but hashtag NCD Stories backfired on them. And they got all kinds of interesting things in the first couple hours, like fingernail in my Big Mac once, hashtag NCD Stories. I was surprised I didn't know there was actual meat at McDonald's. Hashtag NCD Stories.
Ordered a McDouble and something in the damn thing chipped my molar.
I lost 50 pounds in 6 months after I quit working and eating at McDonald's.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, that one's good.
Yeah.
So this all started to come out as soon as they launched the hashtag.
Yep.
And
You got to understand, Twitter is a snarky and funny sort of audience, and anytime you give people something that's relatively open-ended, they're going to have fun with it. And especially with a product that has some degree of controversy around it, it's a dangerous thing to do.
there was one that was referenced in one of the articles where the hashtag was "Where's the beef?" And you can imagine the direction that one went. So what was interesting and different here is this isn't just a cautionary tale. Social media can be scary. They actually, Rick Wham, the social media director for McDonald's, sent out an email later in the day or a couple days later, basically talking about what they did as a response. And they were paying attention, and they saw that this was kind of going bad quickly. And within 2 hours, they
pulled the
stopped
hashtag,
promoting it.
yeah.
They pulled the hashtag, stopped talking about it. And he said within an hour of pulling it, the number of conversations fell off from a peak of 1,600 to a few dozen. And it's important to keep these numbers in perspective. On that day, there were 72,000 mentions of McDonald's overall. And so the number that were actually these bad hashtag NCD story tweets was less than 2% of the total mentions of McDonald's on Twitter.
However, we used our good friends at Hootsuite, have a tool that lets you dig into a whole bunch of analytics around Twitter, and we dove into that, right? We, the royal we.
Me and Repcore.
You don't understand that my job as CMO is to take credit for everything that you guys do.
Right.
Right?
Yes,
so
understood.
we.
we're on a
I said
lead.
we,
know
not
it.
I. That would be bad.
He was being fair.
we, the marketing team, dove into this, and what we found was really interesting because it seems like a lot of the conversation around this was actually about how, like, marketers on Twitter talking about how the campaign had gone wrong.
Yeah.
So even though he was saying, oh, there's all these tweets about McDonald's, only a small portion with this thing, well, the rest didn't mention the hashtag, but they mentioned how horrible your campaign was.
So on the 19th, the day it launched, there were only 2,347 mentions of the hashtag, not very many.
Yeah.
Then there was like 3 days where it was only like 100 a day. And then between the 24th and the 27th, when it hit the newswire and people were talking about this, there were over 24,000 tweets that mentioned the hashtag.
Yeah.
And I went through and I looked at a whole bunch of them, and they're all about the story. They're all about this hashtag backfiring and what McDonald's did. And so the reason I thought this was different than the Walgreens story is here's a company that had it backfire and took some action and shared information about the action they took. So my question for you, Mr. Bodnar, is did they do the right thing?
I think they did the right thing. It's a tough call.
Yeah.
Had they left it up, it was just going to be more and more of the bad, more and more of the same. And so they had to take action. I wish they probably should have done it even quicker than they did, is probably where they were at.
How long do you let it go for? I mean, and they did it within 2 hours, they said, but...
Yeah, but...
You gotta be...
It was what, 1,600 tweets or something that were on that hashtag?
Like 2,300, yeah.
Yeah,
total.
I mean, you can see early on the first few hundred tweets where it's going.
Right, 1,600.
I also feel like whatever advertising person sold them this at Twitter should know after Walgreens, after some of these others, like what to expect with that. Now, like the Meet the Farmers one, I actually think that was interesting,
really cool.
and that's like a little bit more positive, and it's hard to go negative on that one. So I think there's some other things that they could have done, might have been a little smarter. Yeah.
So the marketing takeaway here is just to be fearless and have a backup plan, which we've
go.
talked
Love
about
it.
before, but it is really so important.
Yep.
Don't hold that up yet. We've got a little inserted story.
We're doing
here.
the video here. So so I'll introduce this. So it's about the question, which is the question is what,
The
Karen?
question of the week is, what's a common business blogging mistake you've seen and how can you fix it?
And we have some audience participation in this one from the live audience, but Sam Corin says a common business blogging issue is not giving credit to your news story sources. Give link credit where it's due.
That's good.
It's a good one.
What about you, Kipp? Do you have an example?
I've got two.
Oh.
It's blogging infrequently, like blogging once and then not blogging in for another month, and then not having any calls to action on your blog.
Yeah.
Not taking people the next step from your blog.
What was the one I heard the other day? Oh yeah, no, we have a blog. We, launched it 6 months ago, and that was our first post and only post.
And the post is about how we were launching a blog.
Right.
That's always a good one.
We've got some other feedback that came from the Twitter sphere, so take it home, David.
Producer David.
That was so fabulous. Look at us being all fancy with our technology. So lots of good advice on how you can be better at your blogging and not to make those common blogging mistakes.
There we go. Thanks for all of your participation. So now we've got too many ads is bad unless you're Google.
Unless you're Google.
Yep.
I just had a hard time with that.
Talk much?
Tell us about it, Mike.
So Google is incorporating the page layout algorithm into the search results, and what they're trying to do is take aim at sites where you click through from the search result and go to the website, and like the entire first page is like all like advertising, and it's really hard to find the content, which as a user makes a lot of sense because that to me is a crappy website. And there's a lot of people that start to build up some SEO authority and then they add in really big ads there. Like once they start to get some rankings and some traffic, then they put in all this AdSense to try to monetize it. And it's kind of a crappy experience for the user. So I totally get why Google's doing this because they said they've heard complaints from users that they click on a result and it's hard to find the content, they aren't happy with the experience. Totally makes sense. Makes perfect sense. The weird issue here is, have you been searching on Google lately?
I know.
And they've done a couple of things that I think are interesting.
Ads.
The first thing is like the ads are taking up more and more of that page. The
Yes.
second thing is they used to have this nice like yellow background behind the ads that clearly delineated the ads from the other stuff. Now they use like a one shade of gray darker than the white of the thing. It's like really, it's like I know I'm getting older, but my eyesight's still pretty good, and I cannot see like where that last ad ends. And I find it annoying.
I find it really
So I think
annoying.
Google should apply the same algorithm to themselves.
Well, and so they were getting a lot of criticism for this, and they came out and they said that they didn't say they do, but they basically said that the way the algorithm works is it looks at all of the content on a site, And if you only have 1 or 2 pages that have a lot of these heavy-based ads, you won't be penalized because it's about all of your content. And they penalize the entire site, not individual pages of the site. And if you do searches, it's possible on Google to do searches that trigger many ads. But the vastly more common to have no ads or few ads on a page. Because there are like bajillions of words out there in language that you could search for in Google, and many of them have no paid ads because nobody searches for them. So it's like saying that, like, because we have all this content, it doesn't matter for us. Even the stuff you search most has tons of ads on it.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit skeptical.
It is. You know, I think we should dive into the next one because this really gets at the core of this whole Google and selling the soul issue, which we referenced last week. So the marketing takeaway there is be valuable to your potential customers and they'll love you for it.
Yeah.
And that's what Google's encouraging other people to do, maybe not encouraging themselves to do, which gets us to Google's new privacy policy.
So Google came out with, I'm not sure if it's actually out yet, or they announced
No,
that
it's
they're
out.
coming out.
It's out.
All
It's
right,
out.
so
It takes effect March 1st.
Okay, that's.
But it is published and it's out
They
there.
announced it, but it's not like in effect yet.
Correct. And
That's
it is
what I meant,
published.
sorry.
And if you do a search on Google now, this little thing like slides up and it's like, we have a new privacy policy. Like, it's really important that you read it. Like, click here.
So
and this thing, there's like floating all over the place. Like, they're really trying to get you to read it.
I think the big things about this privacy policy is that it's one privacy policy to rule all of their sites.
Yes.
So the privacy policy for Gmail is the same as the privacy policy for
YouTube.
YouTube is same as the privacy
Google
policy
Plus.
for Google Plus and everything else. And on top of it, users can't opt out of the privacy policy.
Yeah, you can opt out by not using anything from Google
It's
ever.
called canceling accounts.
Yeah, it's called disconnecting from the internet.
Right.
Is what it's called. Yeah.
And the reason people are so upset about this is because what it basically says is that they can take your data from Gmail and use it on YouTube to serve you targeted ads about what you were just reading in your email, or on Google Plus, or in your search results. So they're taking
Or all of the above together.
Yes.
Yes.
So if you are talking about, I don't know, horses on Gmail with somebody, in YouTube you might start getting ads for like horse stabling products.
Awesome example.
I try not to be dirty there, but there's nothing coming. So what do you guys think? Why does this policy make them evil?
Because it's one like last straw in a series of events that are just evil. Because it's like one step closer to Minority Report, I feel like. They know everything about you.
They've already known everything about you. This isn't new. Like, they're just making it formal. And I actually, weren't they already doing this? They really weren't using the data across
some of it,
sites?
but they
weren't doing it at this level of sophistication.
It's taking a whole new level. And what's interesting is some tools you can click through to see how much data they have about you. They have 94,000 emails from me.
You can click through and see how much we...
Oh, yeah.
There's a whole page. I went through all this stuff in detail. It's really interesting.
If you go through all the social graph stuff on Google, it's really interesting. They know who all you're connected through all your networks and
I
stuff.
guess I'll have to
It's
look at that. But
fascinating.
Dan Dunn did point out the page where I can see who they think I am, and they think I'm a 35 to 44-year-old male. Because I read sports and technology, we determined, and women don't like those things.
That's also what they think.
Never mind it.
That's also what they think I am.
Right, but you are. They think I'm Mike Volpe. I don't know. I got over the fact that Google knows everything about me like 2 years ago.
But it's like how
It's
they
way
use
different
it.
now.
It's just. This
So the
just
ads are
seems
going to
like
be more targeted, so they might be stuff I actually want to buy instead of stuff that I'm not interested in? No, I mean, the fact that they think I'm a 35 to 44-year-old male probably means who's interested in like fashion, beauty, family, and I don't know how they think I'm a male, but is it really awful to get ads that are actually targeted to who I am?
I think people just have a lot of concerns about how it's like the extent of the information that they know. Is it horrible to get more targeted ads?
They knew it already.
But it's when they start using it in personalized search and start controlling what you can learn about, that makes the world a scary place.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
If you put it they start controlling what you can learn about, but we're talking about search.
So one of the articles I was reading, they were consulting with a privacy expert from Stanford or something, which is interesting because Google basically funded all of Stanford because they had a bunch of Google stock from the early days. But this privacy expert from Stanford was saying, like, one of the things Google is talking about is they will be able to use maybe the location on your Android phone mashed up with all this data about you and your calendar to tell you, like, oh, like, you're a little bit early for a meeting, like, you should go here, there, or whatever, and then, like, automatically alert your contacts that you're early or you're late for a meeting or whatever, and, like, or based on your location.
Pretty cool.
Sort of cool.
I'd
but
like it if you'd tell me when you're going to be late for a meeting, and if it happened automatically, that'd be awesome.
The privacy expert was like, oh yeah, that's cool, but it really depends on if you're going to a business meeting or a strip club. like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that people just have a concern about, like, all this stuff sort of automatically happening, and, like, how much control do you have versus not control.
If you put the fact that you're going to a strip club in your calendar, you have bigger problems.
No,
nobody's not going to know that.
Your Android phone, like, your phone is on, and you're in the parking lot, and it's like, oh, like, I'll automatically check in here for you, and, like, how many of your friends have been here before, and, like, isn't this really awkward that, your father-in-law was here yesterday, and, like, I mean, there's awkward stuff that can happen there. I don't know if, like, we're ready for that as a society. It kind of goes pretty far. And we talked last week about how there were some internal Google employees who were reporting that basically the Google leadership has decided that they are willing to sell their soul to beat Facebook, which is shocking to me because that's how scared they are of Facebook.
Right. So, you mentioned a whole slew of things. One of you did. I don't remember who. A whole slew of things that are happening that are just a little bit evil now. There's the new privacy policy. There's these ads, penalizing pages for lots of ads, but not themselves. There was one last week we talked about, and another change that we gave them crap
Well, they're
for.
ranking Google Plus posts ahead of search
Google
results.
Plus above
Their
search results
relevancies
and messing with the search
getting
results.
worse.
And so, I mean, it's kind of like they got a new person in charge, and they're so focused on beating
did.
Facebook that they're forgetting the whole "Don't be evil" motto.
I'm reading a book about the early days of Google written by their marketing guy right now, and he was really, really clear that in the early days they would not alter the search results. The search results were this pure thing, and I think they've really, really moved away from that. I think it just shows how scared of Facebook they are. So, anyway, what's the marketing takeaway here, Karen?
It's not about what your policy says, it's how you use it.
Yep, there we go. All right.
Sounds like
there are other things that it matters more about how you use too, but we won't go there.
It is funny. It sounds like one that Karen wrote, but I wrote it for her. Facebook timeline comes to business pages.
So,
is next up. We all know what timeline is. It's this super beautiful, somewhat confusing way to present your Facebook profile. Personal opinion. It's just like it's attractive with all the photos, but like I think it's hard to actually click on. I don't know. It's hard to find stuff.
That's actually your eyesight going because you can't find it. You're like, ah.
Well, there's all these just big images. I don't know what the images mean. Whatever. Anyway,
lots of speculation about it. But the fact of the matter is, they're working on bringing it to business pages. Right now, business pages and personal pages are really different, and they are focused on the fact that that's a problem, and they want to.
Keep going.
I'm saying no.
No, you're doing a good job.
She sent me this article.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Okay.
I asked her. I thought it was already live.
Oh,
she
no.
shook me off.
No, it's not
I didn't
live
say
yet.
anything.
Okay, so I was right and you were wrong. They also.
Not to dig that in.
The Open Graph, which is the platform to enable third parties to integrate with the Facebook timeline, is something that they're continuing to work forward with businesses and figure out how it can be used. And it sounds like they're doing like slow testing, like they're kind of figuring this out as they go forward. They're not getting too crazy about it and opening up for everybody. They don't want a lot of crap apps out there integrating with timeline, so they're trying to kind of be a little controlled about this. But these things are being made to businesses for use on Facebook.
I mean, Facebook would not want any crappy apps on Facebook. I mean, let's just be clear about what they're like.
And Farmville is really not a crappy app. That's like an upstanding app.
Right. And Mafia Wars.
Yeah, compared to Mafia Wars.
And the 25 greeting card apps I've been invited to. I wish they had a block all apps button because I might do that.
I would too. Anyway, the marketing takeaway here is just update your Facebook business page.
There you go.
Pay attention to that timeline, see how it's, that actually is like, you wrote that timeline too because you thought they were already out. But when the timeline comes to your Facebook business page, you're going to want to update it and make sure that it's showing the right things.
Thank you for saving my ass, Karen.
You're welcome.
Oh.
You don't actually know that that's the camera they're showing.
I know, that's the hard part about that. Usually when he's touching that one, it means that one. Did I miss? All right. Yeah, awesome.
Anyway, marketing tip of the week. Kip, tell us what the marketing tip of the week is. Bring it home.
So the marketing tip of the week is whether you're... One, Mike Volpe should practice throwing paper. Continue. Two, focus on building reach for your company, even if you're a B2B company.
Yeah.
Build reach online. It will drive leads and customers.
Absolutely. 3, buy the book.
There you go.
Definitely buy the book.
Read about the B2B
we do have a late comment from the Ludlow group. Says HubSpot TV making me laugh out loud at work.
Woohoo! That's what I like to hear.
That's awesome.
Love it.
So, Kip, what are you doing this weekend?
Marketing up. Hashtag how embarrassing.
What are you up to this weekend?
What am I up to this weekend? I'm trying not to be depressed that there is no football on to watch.
Right, because the football that's on the watch sucks.
It's the Pro Bowl. That doesn't even count as
No, it
football.
doesn't.
Not football, no.
So I will probably likely be doing some work, HubSpot work and housework.
All right, what about you?
Furniture shopping. Why do you even ask me anymore? Like,
I think you should start making it up. Like, I'm going to a strip club with my father-in-law. Let's at least let us think you have an interesting life.
Going to Vegas. I don't know.
My dad's birthday is this weekend, and my dad's so wonderful that he and my mom are coming up to help us with stuff around the house, and then we're all going out to dinner together.
Nice.
They're building big condos next door, so my windows that used to look out onto nothing great but was private is now looking out onto 18 condos, and all their windows staring right in at me. And I'm not good about shutting the blinds, so we're going to work on adding some more blinds that are like shut. And
so real estate values in the condos across the street are going to go down.
Well, I don't know. It depends how much the construction workers talk, because so far I haven't worried about it much, and I think the construction workers really like me.
You should actually ask them to like build stuff in your place.
The construction workers, because they want to come over and hang out.
They might.
Maybe.
They destroyed my entire patio earlier this year, so they should do whatever I want them to do just because.
That's fair.
Anyway, folks, have a great week. We will see you next week. That's fabulous.
Thank you for having me.